When you fly very often with an airline, you're rewarded with airline status. But when you go above that and contribute so much more than what the airline expects, you're invited into a group that is above published levels of status. Meet Randall Hunt, a loyal Delta flyer who was invited into Delta's prestigious 360 program. Hi everybody, and welcome back to my channel. So as you know, I've been talking to a lot of frequent flyers, people that fly very, very often, so much so that they are able to get into the highest level of status with their airline. Well, today, my guest is someone who actually goes beyond that. He absolutely qualifies for the highest level of status on Delta Airlines. However, his flying is so intense that Delta has invited him to be part of a special program that's really only by invite. So you really can't work to get to this status. The airline actually does need to reach out to you in order for you to become part of this program. So today, I would like to welcome Randall Hunt to my channel today. Hi, Randall. How are you today?
I'm doing well. How are you, Peter?
Doing very well. Thanks for joining me. I think this is going to be quite an interesting discussion because so many people that I talk to, like myself, work very hard to get to the diamond level on Delta Airlines, and you really don't hear a lot about travelers who are really invited to this other level by invite only as a reward for your frequent travel. So you're part of that program, so I'd love to talk to you about that a little bit during this video call today.
Absolutely.
Great. So tell us a little about yourselves. Where are you based?
I'm based out of Los Angeles. I'm a software engineer, and I focus primarily on artificial intelligence research.
Mm-hmm.
And my travel was mostly because of conference speaking. So that's when I started, when I was speaking at conferences, I was in a different city every day, presenting papers or even just regular presentations.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I really got into traveling, and it was also really cool to get paid to go visit new cities. There's a huge world in front of us.
Absolutely. Unfortunately, we're not seeing too much of that world this year, but throughout the past, you've done quite a bit of travel. So how many years have you been doing this so that you've been at the diamond level on Delta Airlines?
So I was actually a United flyer up until about 2014 or maybe 2013.
Mm-hmm.
And I got into that because of a friend of mine, Mike Swift, who started a company called MLH, and he was a United flyer, and he just kind of told me, yeah, this is how you should fly. This is the program you should use. And I switched to Delta in, I guess, again, 2013 or 2014. And I have been Diamond basically every year since that.
Oh, wow. And did you have the highest level of status on United also?
No, I think the highest level on United is like some premier 1K global services or something.
Mm-hmm. Global services.
And I never had that. I was close, but I never quite made it.
Okay. And you're based out of Los Angeles. So your primary airport, I'm assuming, is LAX, correct?
Yes.
And
I live 5 minutes from LAX.
Oh, that's great. And Delta's got a pretty good operation out of the airport, along with all the carriers. There's really no one dominant carrier at LAX. So has that helped you also when you're flying Delta? Are you able to get to your destination with nonstop flights, or do you need to take a lot of connections?
I go to a lot of kind of obscure domestic cities, so I do frequently have to take connecting flights. Mm-hmm. But if I'm just going to New York, which is a pretty frequent trip for me, mm-hmm. it's super easy. It's any time of day or night, every hour, there's normally a flight, so I can just there's a very cool feature on Delta called same day confirm, where if you have a particular fare class, you can say, hey, is this same fare class available? Let me delay my flight by 2 hours. Mm-hmm. And so I used to do that all the time, is I would same day confirm into a slightly later flight, mm-hmm. Or a slightly earlier flight, depending on how work was going, and go to New York. And it was, because there's so many flights from LAX, it's super, super easy.
Absolutely, yes. Los Angeles, San Francisco, back and forth, the transcons. Again, a little bit less nowadays, but hopefully that will pick up again. And you've also got the red eye too, going back and forth on that route.
I think there's 3 different red eyes that used to run from LAX to New York. I remember there was one that left at 10, there was one that left at midnight, and there was one that left at somewhere in between the two.
Oh, wow. Now, on those flights, which are primarily 767s, how often, as a very, very frequent flyer, are you in the Delta One cabin?
Well, it's changed over the years. So when I first started flying, I relied on the grace of Delta's upgrade computer algorithm to help me get to that next Delta One cabin. Over the years, I've started kind of spending my own money and really looking at the fare system and understanding, the difference between the fare classes, like Y versus, O, and the reward fares and how all of that kind of comes together and trying to optimize for that. But these days, honestly, if it's a long enough flight and I want to fly first, I just buy up into first and pay the difference.
Well, I think that's one reason why Delta Airlines likes you and invited you to the elite program. So let's talk about that program. It's called the 360 program, correct?
Yes.
And what do you think the criteria are to get into the program? Me personally, I don't think I'd make it. I actually just make it a diamond each year, and I do struggle to get to that point. What's different about you from the average Delta Diamond?
I think that 360 is not necessarily tied to how much you fly or how loyal you are. I think it's based on a combination of two factors. The first, and again, I don't work for Delta, so I don't really know these algorithms or anything, so I'm kind of just guessing here. There's your total overall spend with Delta, which I think is significant. But then there's this concept in marketing of something called a net promoter score. NPS is like the common term that a lot of people use. So I know for a fact that Delta monitors social media channels, Instagram, Twitter, Messenger, all of these other kinds of posts and stuff, right?
Hopefully this video right now.
Hopefully this video, yeah. And I think they make investment in flyers based on their net promoter score. So they will give you the 360 program if they think that you will be able to bring more flyers into their program. So that's my guess, because I definitely I would fly a lot to Europe a couple years ago, and I would occasionally see 360 members, and I would just kind of grab them and say, hey, like what is this program? How do you get into it? And they used to say numbers like, oh, it costs $60,000 a year to get in. And I also sat next to Andrew Garfield on a flight once, the actor from Spider-Man and Social Network. And I remember he had a little 360 tag too. And so they might just give it out to people who have a huge social media following. And so it's a combo. It's like a pie chart of those two factors, your spend and your net promoter score. That's my guess. One of the things that I do is I fly a lot with different people in my business. So I will bring net new Delta people into the Delta program. So I don't know if they track that or not, but I always try and, I think when I joined, I used to work for Amazon, and when I first joined, most of my team were American or United. And I kind of brought them over to Delta slowly but surely. So I moved the whole kind of company spend over to Delta over the years. And I think that worked in my favor for the 360 program. I don't think I'll ever get it again after this year, by the way.
Well, what happened this year? So when did you get the notice that you were 360? Was it at the beginning of this year?
Yeah, I remember very distinctly when I got it. I was on a train in Paris. I was on the subway in Paris, and in between, at each station, you can get like a little sliver of Wi-Fi for a little bit. So I'm going through the metro in Paris, and I got the email that says, "Congratulations, you're invited to a club most people will never know about," or something like that. And I like stood up on the train, and I was so excited. I was like, "Yes, yes!" And everyone was staring at me like, qui is, cette fou homme, like, who's this crazy person? Like, what's
I
going
would
on?
react the same way too on the train. So
Uh,
you got the notification, and
and I
2020.
got it in like February-ish. And I remember I posted in the Delta Diamond Medallion Facebook group to ask, hey, I have this executive membership to Sky Club, and I don't remember buying that. Like, no one, like, what's going on there? And someone told me, I can't remember who it was actually. It was one of the admins of the group said, occasionally people are given that executive membership when they make it into the 360 program.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was kind of hopeful that I might get it, but then all of these people started posting that they had gotten accepted, and I didn't get one of those. So I was like, oh, well, I didn't get it. Oh, well.
So this is February, and of course, February is around the time when the coronavirus started to make its presence, first primarily outside the United States, and then started to aggressively come to the United States. Have you been able to use your 360 benefits at all?
I continued to use it throughout February. So I got it in the middle of February. I would say, I think February 9th or 10th is the day that I got the email. And I had several trips after that for work. So February and even into, I would say, the beginning part of March, I was flying basically every day for work. And then my wife and I, we were able to go to Portugal. And the major shout out here to the LAX crew, the Delta people at LAX. They went so above and beyond because we flew on Valentine's Day to Portugal.
Oh, nice.
To Lisbon, and I had a conference there, so I was presenting for work, and holy smokes, did they go above and beyond. I mean, they had a singer in the Sky Club for us who was, and he, you know what the crazy thing is, he was actually Delta, he was a Delta staff member, but his voice, I mean, this is something that you would hear on like one of those, what are the singing things with Simon Powell, the show?
Yeah, the
American Idol or something.
Yeah. American
his
Idol.
voice was incredible, and he was just singing. And all the staff came, and they were really, really nice to us. And they made us a little sign that said Lisbon 2020.
Oh, wow.
And that was on Valentine's Day.
So I've gotten this one or two times before for like
tight connections,
like super tight connections, but this is just amazing.
So now that you're at 360, we put like we try to do as
What
much
you can.
more as we can to try and
And that was probably the last long distance flight that I took. I took a couple flights to SF and one flight to New York after that. But
And how did you get to Lisbon from LAX? Did you have to connect in any other cities?
Charles de Gaulle.
Oh, okay.
Actually, it might have gone through AMS. I don't. No. It was Charles de Gaulle. Yeah. So we went through Charles de Gaulle, and
And you took an Air France flight.
yes.
Okay, great. Now, other than someone singing, what other benefits did you notice as being a 360?
I've had a couple of times where they've picked me up planeside. So I was coming back from. Actually, I did go to Sydney as well. I forgot about that before 360 ended, or before COVID hit. So I was coming back from Sydney, and they picked me up in a Porsche, and I went through. They took me through customs and everything still, but they took me in a Porsche from the planeside to customs, from customs to the Sky Club, and then I made my connecting flight home to LAX. And then I would say beyond that, I haven't really noticed many differences. The 360 booking line, in an average day, I would call the Diamond booking line at least twice, because my schedule was always in flux and super complicated. So I would have to constantly like shift around flights. Maybe I was originally headed to San Francisco, but it turns out actually I need to be in the South Bay. So I have to go to San Jose. And then instead of leaving from San Francisco that same day, now I need to leave from San Jose. So I would always call, and I would normally have, there's kind of a shorthand that you develop to talk with the Delta agents, because they're generally all extremely skilled people. Not literally every agent, but 99% of them are extremely, extremely talented. And so you can just call them and you can say, I'm currently, in this fare class going out of JFK to SFO. I actually need to go to SJC. I need you to rebook me at this time on these numbers. And then in 5 minutes, you're done. And I thought that was as good as it could get. That was the Diamond line. The 360 line, it's like they know what I want to do before I even have finished saying what I want to do. So I call them, I'm like, yeah, no worries, we got you. Like, here we go, SJC, you're rerouted, done.
Wow. They probably have your history there too, so they know what you've done in the past, so they can kind of just easily be prepared for what your request is going to be.
Yeah. And a lot of times if you're doing international stuff, they have to call over to like the international fare desk. I've
Mhm.
noticed the 360 line, they don't have to do that. They can just reissue everything manually from point
Wow.
of.
Wow, that's amazing. No, that sounds like an absolutely fantastic benefit. I think even as a diamond myself, one of the greatest benefits is the ability to make changes last minute. Sometimes I'm flying into New York City where I live, and LaGuardia is all backed up, and I want to make a last minute change. Just go to JFK instead, and not a problem at all. Just one, two, three. Flight changes. I do make a ton of flight changes, and it's very, very easy to do so. So I can't imagine how there could be even more ease of doing so.
I was amazed that it could get easier because I thought Diamond was, already pretty good. And then just the agents on 360. So I just got married in March,
Oh,
and
congratulations.
I was booking flights for all of my family. So I was calling up and organizing flights for, I don't know, 20 different family members.
Mhm.
And they just had everything linked together. They were like, cool. And yeah, we've got everybody situated. We're going to take care of them. No worries. And that was next level.
Great.
So,
And anything different about the flights themselves? I'd assume not too much different. Yeah, everyone's kind of treated equally on the aircraft.
weirdly, no one had ever acknowledged the 360 level until I got to Salt Lake City for work one day. And I remember a man kind of at the club entrance said, congratulations on your 360 status. Thank you so much for being a part of Delta.
Mhm.
And that was the first time anyone had ever mentioned it out loud to me.
As a
And
360.
I was just like, I was chuffed, I was really
Did anybody
happy. It
around
was
me hear that? Did anybody hear that?
And I actually I sent Delta an email afterwards, and I remembered the agent's name, and I was like, you know what? This guy was the first person to congratulate me, and I just want to say thanks.
Well, that's great. And they do a great job with the Sky Clubs, even thanking you for your diamond status all the time. I get it all the time as I walk in. It makes you feel good. Absolutely. To know
It
that
does,
you're acknowledging it. It must be right there on their computer screen, popping up in big letters to be, say this to that person, and they do it. So really, really,
and it
really.
does help. I mean, like if I'm flying alone and I'm dead tired, I don't really care about being acknowledged for my status because all I want to do is just
Right.
sleep. And but there are days where work can get really rough. You're in like long meetings, and you get on board these planes, and it feels like they know you.
Mhm.
Even if it's artificial, because I believe it's artificial. I got to know a couple of stewards and stewardesses over the years and pursers over the years, so I knew a subset of people,
Mhm.
but in general, it's artificially created.
Mhm.
But even if it's artificially created, you still get that dopamine hit. You still feel happy being acknowledged, and you sit down in your seat and it feels like coming home.
Yes, definitely. I've been acknowledged myself once, even on the aircraft, for being a diamond. The flight attendant just was using her phone, I guess, looking for passengers, and said, "Peter, thank you very much for your diamond status." And I had a huge smile on my face.
Yeah, it feels nice. And too much of it is
Mhm.
probably bad.
Yeah.
So I don't know if people at Delta watch these videos, but I think too much of that is a little creepy and bad. But there's an area there, and it might be different for each person, where it just feels pleasant. You get the dopamine hit, you get that like little bit of acknowledgement at the end of a day, like at the end of a long work day, you just feel happy.
Yeah, and I actually told quite a few people that I got the acknowledgement that same day once I got to my destination. So it definitely goes a long way. So the pandemic hit. Are you doing any flying at all these days?
Not really. We did another benefit of Delta 360 is there's this Wheels Up program, which is like Delta's private aviation. So you can charter private jets, and you can fly on like empty legs and things like that.
Mhm.
So we flew from LAX to Tri-Cities, Tennessee, for a little bit of like a family situation that had arisen, just to take care of that. That was a couple months ago. And that's really the only flying period that we have done. I also went in I guess September for a wedding in Denver. So
Okay.
those are the
So,
only two flights I've been on since the pandemic started.
wow. So in the very beginning, you just kind of quit everything right away.
Yeah, I mean, all the conferences shut down, and so my job is basically to go and speak at conferences and present research and stuff like that. And
So
uh,
what was your experience like in September on Delta, flying through the pandemic as compared to pre-pandemic times? What did you think about everything and how Delta
well,
handled it?
September was a nonstop, and they did excellent. You know, there were no issues at all. The first class cabin was basically empty. I think I was the only one there.
Mhm.
All of the staff were wearing PPE.
Mhm.
They they got you situated, and then they just left you be.
Mhm.
Everyone kept their mask on. Everyone behaved really well. My flight more recently going through Atlanta, Atlanta was kind of insane. The people, I guess, don't believe in using masks at all.
Really?
So I remember standing in line to get some food in Atlanta, and I just ended up leaving the line because everyone in the line was, drunk and without a mask on. I don't know what they were doing. So that was not very strictly enforced in
But they were
Atlanta.
at a place where food and drinks are served, though.
Yeah, but they weren't like sitting
Yeah,
down. They were
right.
like
You really
in
do see
line
that.
to.
Yeah.
And anyway, Atlanta was kind of messed up, but the planes, zero complaints. They did everything right on the planes, in my opinion.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I did one trip during the pandemic, and I was completely satisfied. I felt very, very safe. I was very distant from other passengers with the blocking of seats. I was in the first row of the airplane too, so I had nobody in front of me, and it worked out really, really well. And just that constant reminder from Delta about the Delta Care standard and planes being sanitized on a regular basis absolutely helped. So that was your last trip in September. I guess you're just waiting right now for maybe the immunization or things to pick up again before you'll start traveling.
A vaccine, I do want to visit some family at Christmas. I might end up driving across the country to do that. But
Really?
you know, I'd prefer to fly,
Hmm.
definitely. But I have to connect through Atlanta and to get to where my family lives.
Okay.
So after that one experience in Atlanta, I'm a little bit hesitant.
Hmm.
Uh, but maybe I don't know. I'm gonna make kind of a game time decision about whether to fly or to drive. But if I drive, it's at least 2 weeks of my life that I'm signing up to give away just to being on the road.
Yeah. Yeah, I probably would choose to fly, even though I would pass through Atlanta. I just think it's probably a little bit safer in those environments. When you're driving, of course, you have those stopovers and different places that
Oh yeah,
you sleep in, and you just never know what's going on out there. Um,
there's risks. There's
oh
risks
yeah.
either way, and I think it's gonna be a game time decision for me. I would prefer to fly. I really would,
Yeah.
and I love flying Delta. So I always this year has been rough for me because most mornings of 2018 and 2019, I would wake up on Tuesday and Thursday and I would get on a plane. So I'd wake up at 5 a.m. and I'd be on a plane by 6 a.m. And I just haven't done that. So it's been a real change to my life after 5 years of flying every day.
Oh, for all of
Uh,
us. Yep. Mhm. So
been
did they
interesting.
also extend your 360 status to next year also?
They did not originally.
Hmm.
So originally they said they were still, evaluating things and they would get back to us on that. And now they have. So I have next year, I think, to use it. And I really don't think I'm going to get it again because in 2019, I flew like a crazy person
Hmm.
and I was in a different city or a different country basically all 365 days of the
You're
year. I
not
think I
going to do
flew
that.
like 500,000 miles.
Yeah, you're not going to do that in
Uh,
2021, probably. Hmm.
I don't ever want to do that again. But
So,
I mean, it was a great time though.
do you think that they should offer it to you for the following year also, or are you just going to accept whatever they have? And what are your
I'll
thoughts on the
take
extension of status in general?
It's all fine by me. I think it's Delta's prerogative. You know, they're the ones who run the show. Delta earned my basically unquestioning loyalty back in 2017. And you know, I don't always fly Delta. Like I'll fly other airlines. Like if I go to the Middle East, I'll fly the Middle Eastern Airlines, or if I go to India, I'll fly other airlines. But uh, Delta, especially domestically into Europe, like whatever they want to do, I'll still fly them. It's not a big deal for me. So, and I'm sure other people feel differently, right? I'm sure other people are like, well, I need status until the 2022. I don't care. You know, like I'm happy. I make diamond anyway, so it's not a big
Yeah,
deal for
I
me.
feel both ways. You know, I do want to be able to continue with my status, and I just also really like, you know, feeling the feeling of safety on Delta, especially now. And they've even extended their blocking the middle seats for a few more months, and none of the airlines are doing that. So I think I'm going to stay with Delta. As you fly with Delta, is there any favorite aircraft that you like to fly on, or any airline?
Um, Not really. There's certain staff that I really like. So there's some staff in LAX. Just again, a major shout out to the LAX crew that who have literally saved me sometimes. I had a flight to Australia once where I had pre-registered my visa, but the visa actually expires. So I found out my visa expired the day I was flying. And so I was able to get another one online, but they weren't able to check me in until I had the new visa.
Ah,
One of the gate staff, I think his name is Aaron, literally ran with me because they had no carts, they had no way of like getting me through to the international terminal except
yeah.
running.
Mhm.
So he ran with me, came through security with me, and just waved me past everything so that I could get to the flight. And I was the last person on board. And he's like on the radio the whole time. He's like, I know I got one more passenger. Hold on, hold on, hold on. And we were sprinting through Terminal B, Tom Bradley and LAX. So yeah, the the LAX staff are great in terms of particular aircraft. You know, there are nuances to every aircraft, and I know which seat I like in each aircraft, but I don't think there's any one aircraft that's significantly better than any other.
Yeah, so you're not going to go out of your way to fly on a certain aircraft. Whatever is on the schedule is what you'll take.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mhm.
To
And
me, the
schedules,
time is more important.
I was going to say, yeah, with your schedule's got to be much more important than anything else since you're traveling so much. So whatever, if it's a 737 or a CRJ, whatever, you'll just get on it. So, and you'll be treated well no matter what. So,
There are a couple of those little short hops where the planes are kind of rough, but you do what you need to do to get work
exactly.
done.
Yes, and it's more MQM. So,
Yeah.
any other interesting stories at all that you'd like to share before we close our session today?
Yeah, the reason that Delta has earned my loyalty for life, I was flying from Albany to North Carolina, and this is a little bit sad. I don't know, but my my brother was getting a heart transplant,
Mm.
and we had found out a little bit before the flight was supposed to. Before I booked the flight with like several minutes before it took off, and we were easily an hour away from the airport, and they held the plane until I got there.
Oh, wow. That's a great story.
And I've never been more hated boarding an aircraft before, but when Delta like did that, it was very compassionate, and it earned my loyalty for life. So I was like, whatever.
Yeah, so you told them, of course, what the situation was, and they were able to hold the aircraft for you.
But I didn't even ask them to do that or anything.
Yeah.
I said, here's my situation.
Mhm.
You know, I need to get to RDU literally as soon as possible. This is where I am. I can drive. I can do anything. And the agent said, don't worry, Mr. Hunt. I got you.
Wow.
And so I guess what the agent had done is I got there like 10 minutes before the flight after their delay was scheduled to leave. And I even got to the gate after the flight's delayed departure time.
Wow.
And they still like moved the jet bridge back to the plane and let me board. And it was like any airline that is able to translate human stories into like actionable revenue. Because in the end, they're a company. They need to make money. I want them to make a profit. I want them to be successful. But they're able to do that in a way that maximizes the value for every passenger. And if they can continue to do that, they'll be the most successful airline in the world.
Absolutely. It's all about the personal touch. And if they can accommodate for that for you, then that's definitely something that you want to continue doing business with. And not only are you doing business with the airline, but you're also doing business with others by bringing others into the Delta realm to help contribute to the airline's bottom line. And some of these actual events were some of the reasons why you decided to do so. So that's absolutely great. And it's all about the personal touch. And that's exactly what I'm trying to do here with my interviews with many people, is talk about the stories, why people fly airlines. When you go through an airport, you see multiple people and you always wonder, what's their story? Why are they flying? And I aim to bring that about, kind of connect people in different ways here. So exactly, not people aren't just robots. You look at people as, just another person getting on an airplane, but why are they there and what is their reason? Do they fly as often? You can't tell by looking at someone how often they fly, but it's always fascinating. You think that also when you're at an airport, what are the reasons for these people's travels? Why are they going here? Why are they going there? And how often do they fly? So I think we got that accomplished today with you. Great, Randall. Is there anything else you'd like to add before we end today?
Sure. Peter, I think you're doing a lot of really good work here. I think if you keep telling these stories, it'll make flying a little more personal. I always meet nice people on airplanes. And I think you doing this is kind of making up for the fact that a lot of us aren't flying right now. So thank you.
Yes, that's one reason why I'm kind of living vicariously through others. So I can't wait to get back up in the air myself. I've canceled way too many trips for the pandemic. I'm looking forward to 2021, hoping everybody, the virus kind of reduces in intensity and the immunization comes out and we'll all be able to live our life the way it was. But in the meantime, things like this is what we have to do in order to kind of just stay sane, talk to other flyers and share their stories with each other. Well, that's great. Well, thank you so much for your time today. And thank you all to my viewers for watching this channel. If you have any questions or comments or would like to be in any of these videos, if you're a frequent flyer or if you're not even a frequent flyer at all, or just want to talk about aviation, leave a comment in the comment section below and I'd be more than happy to make a video featuring you. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and don't forget to hit that bell button so that you're alerted as to every time I post something new, and stay tuned for more videos. Thank you, everybody, and thank you, Randall.
Thanks.